The next thing I'm going to talk about is how you can build great customer service experiences using artificial intelligence, right? So we're going to start with talking about why is CX so important, right? And then what are your options to address customer experience issues or use cases on AWS. And then I'll talk about some of the ideas in which you can put these services together and also give you some information about how it's worked for us. So is customer experience a really important problem, right? What sort of solutions are available today? We're all talking about AI, right? Does it really help, or is it just because it's cool, right? And can you get started in tiny steps, right? Or do you have to make a big investment and try to boil the ocean, right? The obvious answer is no, you can just get started with small steps, and I'll tell you how. So one of the surveys from Deloitte says customers want businesses to hear them, understand them, and appreciate them, right? And CX is no longer relegated to nice-to-have status, right? And service improvement are clear priorities for contact centers. So before, a good customer experience would be, yeah, it's nice to have. Let's focus more on pricing, right? But today, it's as important as your pricing and the purchasing experience. So what do you do if you want to overall drive a better customer experience for your end users, right? You first measure how you're doing right now, right? That's what we mean by establishing a baseline. Once you do that, you set up an experiment. And then you try out many different things, and in the end, based on the improvements you get, you figure out what really works for you. So in this chart, we sort of map the customer journey, right? So right from your awareness stage, right, where they're looking at your advertisements and finding, initially they're finding out about your product and so on. And then they're considering buying your product, and finally they make the purchase, and then the customer service piece starts, right? So you may have self-service on the web. There could be community forums where they can ask questions about the product. You could provide customer help using chat. Through social media, customers can contact you through social media. And of course, the call center, right? So we do a lot of talk about social media and texting and all that, but call centers are still one of the largest channels for customers to contact organizations. So what options does AWS provide you, right? If you've been around today, you've probably seen this slide many times. So the top layer is what I'm going to talk to you about. So the services are going to be Transcribe, Comprehend, Contact Lens, and so on. So this is a filtered look of just the capabilities that you would use for your contact center, right? So Lex for your interactive voice response, Poly for text-to-speech, Transcribe for speech-to-text translation so that you can translate between many languages, and Comprehend to sort of understand the insights from your text. And that's what we're going to focus on today. And in addition, we just launched another capability called Contact Lens as part of our contact center software, AWS Connect. I'll give you a quick overview of that just to give you an idea about how you can combine all these technologies to get better insights from your contact center. So let's get started. How are contact centers working today, right? What does your funnel look like? So the majority of the requests today are handled by voice right? So customers are calling, your agents are taking the calls, trying to answer any questions that may have. And then they have a smaller portion that your agents are handling through chat. And then many companies also have a digital assistant, right, which customers can just chat with and get answers on your website. What we want to get to is an inverted version of this, right? We want the majority of your calls or questions from your customers to be answered automatically by a digital assistant, right? Maybe the next level is through your agents, but in chat form, and then the smallest by voice, right? So that's the sort of architecture that gives you the highest efficiency, right? So you want higher customer satisfaction, higher employee satisfaction, lower customer churn, lower operating costs, lower time to resolution, and lower wait times, right? This is not just about cost. This is about a better customer experience, right? How many times have you called in to some helpline and sat on the call for like 20 minutes, 30 minutes? How frustrating is that? Imagine if you could have just asked your question and gotten an answer quickly and be done with it, right? Sure, you didn't, it was a digital assistant that answered your question, but you got what you needed, right? So let's talk about the first type of use case that we see in a lot of contact centers, right? Which is, how do you make the agent more efficient, right? The live agent optimization. So there's a few things you can do, right? So you can use translation, right? So some agents, the language of support may not be their first language, so you can provide a transcript in the language of their choice so that it helps them understand what's going on better, right? You can provide real-time analysis and a next best action, right? So as the chat's coming in, you can use something like Kendra to search through your knowledge base and provide the prompts for the knowledge articles. And then you also provide live guidance, because using Transcribe, you can transcribe the call as it's happening, right? So agent's talking to the customer, and you're getting the text of that call, and then you're able to check for sentiment or keywords or abuses or whatever that you want to look for, and immediately flag that to the supervisor in case you want them to intervene on this call, right? So the schematic shows how you put together the different capabilities, right? So you would use Transcribe, you would use Comprehend, you would use Lex for your chatbots, and you would use Translate, Amazon Translate. Let's take a look at a demo.
Thank you for calling Support Associates. My name is Nikki. How can I help you today, Mr. L. Hagen?
Hi, Nikki. I've been a customer for 2 years now, and I just received a notice that the special pricing I got when I first signed up is about to expire in 2 weeks. I called yesterday and I spoke to Bob, but unfortunately, he wasn't very much help. I checked your competitor's website, and they are offering better pricing. I plan on switching providers if you can't match their price. Is there anything you can do for me to renew the promotional pricing?
So this is a demo that we built, right? So as you can see, as the call was happening, right, Transcribe is able to give you the transcription, the text transcription live, right, with hardly maybe a second, 2 seconds of delay. And as we're getting the text, we're also figuring out from Comprehend what the key phrases are, what the entities are, and we're underlining all of that in the text. And then we provide a translation of English to Spanish, right? So the agent, let's say the first language is Spanish, you provide the Spanish translation right below there. We also show the sentiment, right? So there's an emoji right there which shows the sentiment of every sentence as it's happening. And then at the bottom, We also have the overall customer sentiment of the call so far. And then most importantly, on the right, we have something called suggested actions, right? So this is where you can use Kendra, like I was mentioning before, where you take those keywords that Comprehend has identified, and then you can go look for them in your knowledge base that you've already indexed, and fetch those answers and provide them as suggested actions to the agent right there. And then all this data gets stored, right? So that in the future, you can do timeline analysis, saying how many calls did I get, and what was the sentiment of the call, the post-call analysis, which I'll talk about next. Right? What we just spoke about was live, right? So now, what happens after the calls are done? And also, how do you design the next best action, right? Because as you guys know, the system is only as good as the input that you put into it, right? So if your knowledge base is not designed properly, you don't have the right knowledge articles, no search engine is going to find you the answers that you need. So how do you figure that out? You figure that out by analyzing historical calls, right? So if you've been recording all your calls and been putting that into a certain storage, you can run all that through Transcribe, get the text, and then if that's in multiple languages, right? So Transcribe supports English, Tamil, and so on. So you can get the text in all the different languages, then translate that into English if you want your core analysis to be in English, and then run that through Comprehend to figure out the sentiment, entities, key phrases, and so on. And then you run analysis on that, saying, okay, why are my customers calling me? What are some of the core issues that they're facing, right? So you can do many interesting things then, like topic modeling. You can run topic modeling on all your calls, and it'll tell you these are the top 10 topics for which your customers call you, right? And then you set up a classifications service where in Comprehend, we have a custom classification capability where you take that output from topic modeling and say, here are my 5 or 10 different classes, and here are the examples of call transcripts for each of those classes, right? And then we train a classifier for you so that when you send me the call transcript for the next call, I can tell you that, okay, this is a payment-related call, this is a return-related call, this is a product damage-related call, and so on. So you use a combination of Transcribe and Comprehend and the different capabilities to build a nice end-to-end sort of a solution, right? It also helps you figure out what sort of intents that you need to put into your chatbot, right? So if you know that these are the sort of questions that they're asking, if it's a very straightforward question for which the answer doesn't change, what do? You just write an FAQ and index that into Kendra. Your answer gets served as soon as the question comes in. But if it's more involved, right, it's about their particular return, you got to get into their account, find the details, and answer that. Then you build an intent for it, and with all the sample utterances and prompts and all that. So doing historical analysis helps you set up a good knowledge base as well as keep improving your digital assistant. And today, your customers don't just contact you through your contact center, right? So they also will post something on Twitter. They will also say things on your Facebook page and so on, or leave product reviews on your website. So our tools not only help you analyze information from your contact center, but across all your channels, right? So if you're getting emails, use Lambda to get the text out of all that emails. Run it if it's already in the language of your choice. You don't translate, but if you want to get that into a particular language, you do all that, run it through Comprehend, and then have all your information on S3. And then you can use tools like Athena and QuickSight to sort of query that data and visualize it, right? If it's Twitter, that it's coming in at a high velocity, so you want to hook up that to a Kinesis stream, and then as the tweet comes in, you continue to process those tweets. Let's talk about some customer references here. So Chick-fil-A was one of our customers, and they are very worried about customers having a bad experience at any of their franchisees, right? And each of their franchisees has a Facebook page. And what they do is they scan the comments on all the pages using Comprehend, and as soon as they spot any food safety issues, or I felt sick after eating there, or I ate this and I didn't feel good, they will immediately flag that and look into it, right? So this improved their accuracy of issue identification by about 30%, right? Which is huge. Because imagine, they're all over the United States, right? And there's so many franchisees, and customers are posting across all these pages. It'd be impossible for one human being to sit there and go read all that, right? They'd have to have an army of people doing these reviews. Instead, they're able to just run this through Comprehend, and it quickly tells them issues that they need to look into. G Appliances is another customer where they've used a combination of Amazon Lex for their IVR. They're also Amazon Connect customer for their contact center software. They use Poly for text-to-speech, and then Transcribe to do the analysis of the calls. And what they're focused on is increasing the efficiency of the contact center, and in the end, making sure that their customers have a better experience. So we spoke about live agent optimization as the call was happening, and then the post-call analysis and how you could look at historical data and sort of learn from it, and make your product better, make your customer experience better, make your help better, right? So that's the two things we saw. Now let's talk about the self-service piece, right? About the interactive voice response, the IVR system, or a digital assistant, or a chatbot piece. So we have a service called Amazon Lex, which is able to, you can build your IVR experiences using Lex. You can build your digital assistants using Lex, and then deploy that on any platform that you're using. So today we are integrated with Amazon Connect as well as Genesys Pure Cloud, but you can integrate Lex into any other platform that you're using as well. And then you combine that, right, similar to how we saw in the prior use cases with Comprehend, if you want to look at sentiment, right? So you don't want your digital assistant to be robotic, and customers are really mad and they're asking something, and you can tell that from what they're typing, but it's giving the same bland response repeatedly, right? You don't want that. So you want to check for the sentiment, and then if they're not happy, then you change your response for your customers, right? So you want your IVR experience to be smart. And if the sentiment's getting really negative, then maybe it just stops and then quickly transfers the call to an agent, so that the customer's frustration is quickly handled. And using Translate, you can also handle multiple languages. So again, one of the customers' references that we'd like to talk about is the NHS, right? And they used Lex and Poly with Connect, and they saw a 40% of calls were managed by the automated chatbot with no increase in the call drops, and they saved $650,000 in a year. Let me quickly run you through this new service that we launched called Contact Lens for Amazon Connect. So all these capabilities that I spoke about, especially the post-call analysis, right? Many of the customers said, hey, we can build all this, but it'd be nicer if you can build it for us, right? So that's why we built Contact Lens as a reference for how you can build call center analytics using the primitives or the APIs that we provide. So what does Contact Lens do? It's essentially available inside of Amazon Connect. So if you are using Connect for your contact center, with a few clicks, you can quickly turn on Contact Lens, and it will give you all the analytics for your call center. So let me take you through some of the capabilities. So you have advanced search. So you can do things like show me all the calls where the agent did not say a particular, let's say you told all your agents that they need to upsell the customer in the first 30 seconds of the call, say, did you know there's also an offer on this particular product, right? And you want to figure out which agents are not saying that. So you can do things like that. You can search saying, first 30 seconds, look for the string. If it's not there, flag that call. Detailed analytics and sentiment analysis. How is the call going? What is the sentiment? I'll show you screenshots for all this, right? Automated categorization. So I was talking about topic modeling and categorizing your calls. Contact Lens does that. Theme detection is the topic modeling piece that we spoke about. And then the supervisor assist is where the live agent, as a call is happening, sentiments going negative, supervisor gets flagged, is able to jump in. And your data is always available for you to do further analysis on it if you'd like to. We don't hide the data from you or make it hard for you to pull the data. It's out there in S3 for you to do whatever analysis that you'd like to. So this is what the experience looks like, right? The font's a little small, but I'll read it out to you, right? So you can first set up a time range, right, of the calls that you want to analyze. And then you can, if you want a specific contact ID, you can search by the contact ID. If you want to search by agent, you can search by that. You can choose the channel on which you want the analysis to apply, right? So if you want to look only for what your agent said, you would only click the agent channel, right? And then you would set up the string that you're looking for, right? So the key phrases or words that you're searching for. And then even finer filters like match any, match all, and so on, because that may vary based on your use case. And then it keeps going. So we are providing you so many options because contact centers are extremely complex, and customers can call with any number of different issues, right? So your analysis needs may be very different from one organization to another. So you may wonder, why are they giving me 15 different ways of filtering these calls? This is based on our customer research, where we've spoken to our customers, we've gotten feedback, and that's why we've provided so many different options. And then the detailed analytics, right? So you get the sentiment over time, and then overall for the call, like what percentage of the call was positive, negative, or mixed, right? And then we show you the transcript right below there by agent and customer, right? Because Transcribe is able to split the channel and transcribe each of it and label it. So if you have dual channel audio, we give you the labeled customer channel and agent channel so that you can analyze both of them separately. And then we also show you what categories this particular call would fall into, right? If it has multiple labels, we show you all of them. And of course, you can play back and listen to the call, right? So if there's a particular piece of the call which you want to know what exactly happened there, what did the customer say, you can click on that part in the transcript and it'll play the call back for you. Theme detection. So this is something that's coming soon. We don't have this today in preview, but it'll show you the trending themes like password reset, bill pay, and so on. The supervisor assist, like I was saying, it'll show you the supervisor list of all the calls, the sentiment. So if one of the calls is going really bad, they can see that there and they can intervene. And let me quickly talk about one more capability which we launched at re:Invent in Vegas, earlier this month, right? Which is Transcribe Medical. So for your customer experience, we have customers in the healthcare space where the customers are talking about whatever, some medication that they're taking or certain diseases and so on, and they wanted to get really high accuracy, right? And also we heard from doctors that when they need to document the patient visit and put in their notes into the HR, it's very cumbersome for them to type out the notes for how many of our patients that they see through the day. So for clinical documentation as well as the transcription on the phone, which we call as pharmacovigilance, to figure out side effects and others, we launched a capability called Amazon Transcribe Medical. And this is sort of how the documentation use case would work, right? Where the doctor or clinician is talking into Transcribe, and then it's giving text, and then Comprehend Medical is pulling out the text from it, and then putting that into the health record. But you know what's more fun? Demos are more fun. So let me quickly play this demo for you.
Artery disease comes for a follow-up visit today. Last month, he was admitted to our hospital with unstable angina. He underwent heart catheterization on November 15th, 2007. At that time, he was found to have a tight 99% proximal stenosis, total occlusion and collateralization of the mid-circumflex. Right coronary artery was normal. Ventriculography was normal and his ejection fraction was 65%. He underwent an uncomplicated placement of a ciphered drug-eluting stent to his proximal lesion. The attempted coronary intervention of the circumflex was unsuccessful, as his lesion cannot be crossed. His post-procedure was uncomplicated, and he was discharged on the day following his intervention. He comes today indicating that he is feeling great. His current medications include aspirin, 325 milligrams daily, Lipitor, 40 milligrams daily, and Plavix, 75 milligrams daily.
So as you can see, pretty much every single term that was dictated, we were able to get right, including the medication names like aspirin and Lipitor, Plavix, condition names like ventriculography and coronary arteries and so on. So we're showing you the transcript here, and we're also underlining the different entities like PHI and medical condition, anatomy, medication, and tests using Comprehend Medical. And then you can also run a summary like this where you can look at all the entities that have been extracted, right? So you went from unstructured data to structured data here. So you can do further analysis of all that structured data. So that's a quick demo of another service that we launched at re:Invent, which is Transcribe Medical.